Hey fellow architects, Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to Going Medieval Oak Brethren. Episode 20, Theory Crafting for a Moat. Can the moat connect to the inside pond? Probably not. So if I'm not mistaken, the way that water works in this game is water that is not fed by a river is technically finite. And if I did try to connect the moat to the pond, I would inevitably be draining out my pond because there's not enough water in there to accommodate like an entire moat. So we would have a dry moat, but it doesn't really matter whether it has water in it or not. When it is breached by raiders, they just ignore you know, the moat itself by bridging over it. So it wouldn't really matter if it was filled with stuff or not. In fact, if it's dry, it's actually a little bit easier to set fire to it, right? Because if it's dry, you can put like wood in there and set the wood on fire, whereas if it's wet, you have to put oil on the water, and that becomes a little bit more challenging. Okay, they're leaving. I was about to be like, I want them gone. And then they dismissed themselves. So mechanical components, where is it? What I want to do is I want to keep track, make sure that we have a regular supply of steel so that we're not waiting on steel for the siege equipment, but we're already up to 8. 8 of the 10 we need for the first ballista. Another thing we might be able to do, just for visibility's sake, is all of these smaller hillsides immediately adjacent to our base can be excavated. Just so that there's not really a line of sight issue, because the ballista that we have is going to have massively superior firepower compared to handheld, you know, weapons. So being able to overwhelm the enemy with our siege equipment and have no cover for the enemies is a bit beneficial. And that is a lot of excavation that I've just queued up, but like, so be it. It needs to get done for the project to be seen to its fruition. And I don't think most of the hills I just queued up to excavate have like a lot of resources in them. So it's not like we're about to get like a windfall of gold or something where our colony value is going to skyrocket. So the regional influence that we have right now is about just shy of 30%. I think the last time I checked it was like 21. So it's actually already a little bit higher than I had anticipated. And we have 1 week. So sometime early spring, we'll be able to put in a another ritual. Wow, nobody's animal handling. Let me fix that job. Animal husbandry. Sandra, thank you for the resub too. I'm not getting audio alerts for these things like I normally do. Let's see if my oh, you know what? It's probably because my leaderboard is broken. Yeah, that's certainly it. Oh, I got that one. I heard that hydrate. Cheers. But that one's different. It's not resub or cheer triggered. Well, this is this is gonna end up being quite the project. Now, the thing about, I would say, the portcullis that might be more advantageous over the other defenses that we have access to, and I'm not 100% sure if it's going to work this way. The other gates that we have swing open and closed, requiring 2 tiles to be exposed. Let me go back a little bit and explain. So the ornate gates, as you can see, these swing. Those swings, the swinging open and close means you can't, it won't work by building directly in front of it. Meaning you can't construct walls to block both interaction spots. So that if you're trying to choke point enemies, the giant gates do a really poor job of that. The portcullises, on the other hand, actually, that might not work either. Yeah. The portcullises don't... What is that spot? Yeah, I don't know if any of these new defensive structures are like that much superior to what existed or what exists. I can't tell which way the portcullis is. Like, so the thing I was thinking about is if we could choke point the portcullis like this so it acts as a gate, but it only has a 1 wide access, but that might not be possible either. That's a winch to raise the gate? Okay, got it. Well, we can always tinker with it. I think whatever we end up doing, like a simple moat will work well. And we can have the moat paired with like maybe portcullis or doors or something, so that we can access what they cannot. Now, if it is doors, they're just going to knock it down. And the other problem with the doors is if there are doors, they will be vision blockers for the enemy. So it's not like a perfect solution. Oh, baby. Maybe next year we can do a more war-focused run? Yeah, maybe. Well, we're getting a ballista up top. How's my wood count? 32. Oh, Lord. Gotta cut them trees down quickly. My colonists are gonna be ice cubes. I could always mine up a whole bunch of coal. I know that there was a lot of coal near me. I just personally kind of wanted to avoid tampering with the coal, as it's a it's pretty handy to have coal like that in cases of emergency. And if we mine it all up right now, I lose access to that. The other thing that we might want to consider is what about putting traps down? Yeah, we could do that as well. But what I was going to say is the other thing we consider is replacing some of the ceilings here from wood brick so that it's less flammable. I think we're going to do that. So as we place down ballista, I'm going to try to place the floor underneath it with brick to remove its flammability vulnerability. Or fire vulnerability, whatever. And this is yet another project that would be a lot easier if it wasn't snowing. I can always shape the moats with soil blocks? Yes. That is, of course, always an option. One thing that we could do is to have the moat have traps in it and have ramps go down to the moat traps so that enemies are encouraged to walk into the moat through the traps and up, whereas our people can walk out of our base through a door. So if I have like, if you picture a moat where I have like, if I move this, I have a picture in my head of what it could look like. So right outside the doors here, like if you picture the moat being dug here and we have a path to a door, they might take the path of least resistance and go down the ramps and then up the ramps, meaning that we could trap them inside as they traverse. So I might try to do that as a moat using traps, fire, and siege equipment. And if we end up using siege equipment, the tricky part about the siege equipment is the siege equipment does have a minimum range. So if I put siege equipment on the roof, as you can see, the moat has to be a certain unit away from the ballista for the ballista to be able to actively fire on a person there. So what I don't want to have happen is a situation where someone's on the roof with a ballista and then they can't physically fire on the target that they need to fire on because of a minimum distance issue. So that's something I would very much like to avoid. I suspect it's going to be one of those like trial and error type problems, and so be it. We'll do our best. So I think what ended up happening is we fired up all of our iron into steel, turned all the steel into the mechanical components, and now we just don't have mechanical components. So we have a lot of industry to take care of before we are able to really ramp up our defenses. It makes sense that like siege equipment, given the advantage it offers you, is a very expensive project to build. I'm sure with my luck, I'm going to build a ballista looking out 2 cardinal directions and then get a raid from the blind side. As time goes on, of course, I will fill in all the blind sides so we don't have a blind side where there will be ballista looking the other 2 cardinal directions, but I just have a feeling that I'm gonna have a blind side raid. I'm glad no one's sleeping in those spare rooms on the library floor. They'd be a mite bit cold at like -10 right now. Something like that. A ballista right next to the chapel, raining down holy bolts. Yep. The wrath of Dink Druids. So a lot of the countryside excavation is almost done. The random hillsides that potentially could block line of sight. And then we'll have a lot more freed up manpower to manage the steel making and siege equipment and then moat digging. Alright, says research is available. Let's go ahead and get incendiary ammunition. It's cheap. And then last but not least, I want to save up 20 for the trebuchet. I don't exactly know how I'm going to build a trebuchet or where I am specifically going to build a trebuchet. I would eventually like to have a trebuchet aimed in every cardinal direction as well. I don't know where I'd be putting it exactly because of where the ballista are going. What I could potentially do is have the ballista on a bit of an overhang. I don't want to actually physically build it on the overhang because it would be very vulnerable due to stability shock. But like build it right at the edge of my castle with like Merlins covering it or something like that, allowing me to have a little bit more room behind for trebuchets. So the advantage of the trebuchet is sooner or later we are going to have enemies come to this base with their own siege equipment. And unless we want to sally out and deal with that, the easiest way is just counter ballista or counter trebuchet, which is exactly want to get that built. Because sallying out when you have a bunch of like relatively low armor archers is just suicide. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait until trebuchets are researched so that I can plan to lay this all out well. It's hard to plan in advance without having access to all the siege equipment that I intend to use. You can see we have like a wider platform on the rooftops here, and that should allow for us to have more space to work with when setting up the ballista and the trebs. A ballista's through a window, kind of like cannon portholes. That would be really interesting. I'm gonna guess that, like, viewer angles would be all sorts of messed up. But still. Does sound like fun. Kadath, are you finally a marksman? Well, at least level 10. You are! Okay, so let's go ahead and cancel the marksman training. And, oh, it's your birthday. So you became a marksman on your birthday. Paused. Jobs. Kadath no longer trains. That means we need to get him hooked up with a better bow. If we have one. Yeah, we do. So now every single person in our colony has at least a longbow. Bit of a defensive advantage. I think the hillsides are excavated. One thing that will definitely be in the way is the old barn. I will 100% have to compensate for the old barn. Planning out the moat type structure. And I would say the real issue is like where to... So the animals don't need an inside zone. So maybe just... But I want to keep them away from the crops. So maybe just have the barn be like this section here fenced in or something. I'll figure that out in time. Now, I know these are my apple trees, but I'm going to cut them down anyway because they're in the way where we are going to be moating. So, speaking about the moat, once we have the trebuchet researched so we know what the size of the trebuchet is, let's work up to 35 and 20 for wooden and mechanical. So that I can potentially build one. Which means wooden workbench. 35. And my wood count is looking terrible. But I think there's a lot of wood that just hasn't been hauled out here. Yeah, there's at least a few hundred. That just is sitting out in the snow. 500 or so. Yeah, it's a hauling problem. I mean, I could start trying to train my animals to haul for me, but the problem with that, as far as I see, is I don't have like a temporary stockpile for them to haul to, because I don't necessarily want the animals to like go through my entire base and gain access to all the floors and everything as haulers, because if I did that, it would be filthy and it would be very difficult to manage. So at some point, a good project would be to try to get some more animal haulers, but not while I'm working on other things, because I think that would detract from some of my other goals. So in terms of prototyping what I envision the defenses to look like, that's the problem. The issue that I foresee is if we do have a bridge. So I'm going to save just so that I don't accidentally, let's call this temp. I don't actually accidentally build anything. So if I do have like a bridge, the bridge is likely going to need some sort of support. So let's say we have an arch or something underneath it, right? What stops the enemies from using the bridge and coming straight to our reinforced door? The only thing that would stop them necessarily would be another door. So one thing that I could do, and I don't want a door like above level, because if I put a door here, then this door could potentially act as physical cover for enemies. And that would be offering cover to the enemies, kind of the wrong concept. I don't think they would use, like, only one person would really ever benefit from it, so maybe it's a non-issue. But the other thing that I could do is have a slope up to the bridge where the door is at the bottom of the slope, preventing the cover issue. So what you're trying to imagine here is if there was a moat, like let's say it should be like 3 wide, but let's say there's a 3 wide moat everywhere. So we have a farm, moat, bridge, and then a separate like divot ramp system. Does that sound good to you guys? Does that do you think that would work, in other words? Because I'm thinking, and then the other thing about the moat is the moat would have its own slopes down into it. Obviously this is the wrong Z level because it's not excavated, where the enemies can come down the slope to offer them a valid path. And the reason for this is we don't necessarily want them breaking the doors in. So if I can offer them a valid path where they slope down into the moat and then back up onto the bridge, but lay a whole bunch of defensive traps there where all along the path that they would path to are traps. I think that would work. Or at least that's my current thought. Iron bar doors allow arrows through? Yeah, we could do that too. We could just do the grated doors. Like that. And then we wouldn't need a divot. But I would still want to have slopes into the moat and then out of the moat, encouraging enemies to use the moat ingress and murder anyone that's, you know, via traps or possibly fire. There is not a drawbridge, no. That would obviously help. But I think this design, you feel like this might be a job for a portcullis. The problem with the portcullis, of course, is it has a massive hitbox. So if we did erect a portcullis, you can have so many brawlers hitting this thing, and its hit points aren't that high. That's the problem. None of the walls that you can build are particularly tough. Or doors, I should say. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go with this system. I like it enough. So what I'm waiting on now is the research for the trebuchets, so that I can try to figure out exactly how my trebuchets and ballistas are going to be laid out on the roof. And then once I have the trebuchets and ballistas laid out on the roof, I can then start designing the moat system, because essentially I don't want my ballista on the roof to have blind spots that I'm going to be building moats for. So this is why I need like all the research ahead of time, because otherwise I'm potentially designing a defensive structure that offers blind spots. Come on, someone destroy that. Like this year, please. Thank you, Tal. Yeah, so the idea is like a subterranean or like a trenched pathway, where the trench can be trapped with metal traps and maybe set on fire. The other thing that we can do is we can, so that trees don't grow down there, we could put our own floorboard. We could put our own like wicker floor or wooden floor that is very flammable, that will stop trees from growing, and if need be, we could set it all on fire and burn them out. So yeah, that's the thought. Hey, Mr. Manic, you want to go talk to Dennis? Or, yeah, I guess that's Dennis. They have some coins. 92. Let's see. You want my hay? Did those animals ever get butchered? I think they did, yeah. Oh, we have a lot of tallow. Whoa! Yeah, that'll work. Wait, why do we have just a random wooden well? I don't recall uninstalling a wooden well. Maybe it's a good opportunity to get rid of the stuff I don't care for. Sell the well and sell some other junk. Oh, and they also, you know what? Let's keep the tallow. They're willing to buy red currant, which, like, we have so much of it's stupid. There we go. Give me a gold. Now, how does that region influence is up by about 1%? We're not really like raising our wealth all that high, which is good. I think for simplicity's sake, the moat is going to be well, how about you guys decide? Should the moat be square or octagonal? So my base is octagonal, but a square moat would obviously be easier to construct and give me more space. An octagonal would, you know, sort of mirror roughly the base's layout, but be a little bit harder to build. I'm fine with either. So have you decide that. Give it 2.5 minutes to vote on that. And as far as research goes, we are just 10 thesis away from being done. Can we try to buy mechanical gears? We could. It's not really our, well, it may become our bottleneck, but at the moment it's not really our bottleneck because our bottleneck is like research. But very soon, I think you're right, it will become the bottleneck. The thing is, those are like really overpriced. So they've got 9 of them, but the wooden ones are selling for 70 a piece. And to put that in perspective, it's 20 wood. I granted, of course, it is manual labor. And then the other one, the mechanical components, are 86 a piece. So like buying 5 of them, for instance, would cost me all of my red currents. It's like 100 red currents to 1 mechanical component. Which is why, like, I'm a little bit more hesitant to buy those kind of stuff because they're just massively overpriced. We still haven't gotten our furniture too. That's true. You know what I could do is, what is it, 30 and 20? Let me raise the books that we're making up by that. Because we have multiple, you know, researchers, so that will work. Oh, I think my overlay is working now. Let's see. I'm going to call this one a little early. My leaderboard doesn't look like it's working. Let me troubleshoot it real quick. So, a square moat. Keeping it simple. That works for me. No, I'm still getting the error message. Okay, whatever. I'll just hide it for now. RIP. Well, sorry, followers, subs, and cheerers. Although it's not my fault, but I do feel bad. We are, like, completely out of sticks. Again, I think it's just a matter of hauling. But I'll make sure that we have plenty of raw materials to build out there. And of course, nobody's working on the thesis. Yeah, that was the one issue. Oh no, we are writing theses. I take it back. We have 3 researchers on all 3 benches. At least that's productive. Hey, Matt, I will keep up the series. Thank you. So we have a nice big clay platform where I intend to build the siege equipment, which should keep the area from, you know, catching fire and all that jazz. And soon we will have the research done, so I'll be able to figure out exactly how I want to lay out the equipment. So once I figure out where the ballistas can be and where the trebuchets can be, then I'll know the minimum range of the ballistas, and then I'll design the defenses in such a way that the ballistas can fire on the enemies up until the point they're at the gates. The other thing that I might be able to do, and also, Igzy Deguziman, or whatever, I'm sorry about your name, I butchered it, I'm sure. Thank you for the sub. The other thing I might want to consider is, lining Merlins up top as well. I don't suspect that I'm going to get shot at a lot while up here, but I might want to have it anyway. I'm not 100% sure I'm committed to that, but perhaps I'll have you guys decide whether I build that or not. The other thing I realized is we're just about out of clay, so time to excavate some clay. No, music, don't do that thing. Don't get all buggy. And Quantum, thank you for the cheer. Cheers. My poor miners are just like, you bastard. We're about to have to dig a moat and you still want us excavating day in and day out? It's like, yep. Yes, I do. Now this here might like mess up the wells because I'm removing the support for the wells, but I did want to make that clay too. Clay tile. Yeah, okay, the wells go. Poof. I figured. Before we put the wells back, I might as well replace the other side with clay as well, so it doesn't have to happen twice at least. You've been enjoying the playlist on the YouTubes? Well, I appreciate all the gifted subs. That's mighty generous of you. That series has it's been rivaling this one. This and Zomboid are duking it out in the polls every week. So hopefully with any luck, I don't know. Maybe we'll be back. Zomboid has had some updates since that series went on hiatus. But maybe not enough to warrant bringing it back. That's, of course, up to you more than me. I mean, I know in the back of my head I've been wanting to destroy this structure for so long, the old barn. That's one of the issues that I find that Going Medieval has that a lot of other settlement builders don't, is it's really hard to sunset buildings in Going Medieval, just because it's like, it takes so much effort to erect the buildings that like getting rid of them feels wrong somehow. Like, oh, if I get rid of this, it's like wasted effort. I don't know. But I think you understand my hesitation. Alright, wooden wells. 1 and 2. How's the research going? We have 2 theses to do until we have the trebuchets. And the advantage of the trebuchets, again, just to reiterate, if we had an enemy set up like a siege camp, it would allow us... Wow, that's a lot of deer. It would allow us to counter siege. The last time I played Going Medieval, enemies could build siege equipment, but we could not. The player could not, which meant that when you got besieged, you had to sally out and fight them. And you were a little bit at the mercy of the game mechanics as a result. It really sucked to fight siege camps. So the advantage this time around is we can counter siege, and that's a pretty big deal. Thank you for tuning in to Going Medieval Oak Brethren. which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhadamant.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow druids.